Hi, everybody. I just wanted to do a quick training on the Strength Finder 2.0 test and how to use them for yourself, with your team, in your relationships. And so just kind of start off what it is. Let me share my screen. If you haven't taken the test or gotten the book, I'll show you that, and then I'll kind of explain why it's been so valuable. Let me share. So if you go to shop.gallup.com, you'll find their books there, or you can go to amazon.com. If you want this immediately to be able to take the test, then you'll need to come to shop.gallup.com and then click the ebook version, and then you could check out and you get a code to be able to take the test. If you don't mind waiting for having it shipped, you can get it cheaper on Amazon, but you need to make sure that you buy a new book. Otherwise, the code will probably be invalid. So each book comes with a code. And in the book is basically like this, and it will go through the different strengths that there's 34 different strengths. And so you can look up yours. This test will give you your top 5. Once you become Diamond, I recommend you have at least that you have your top 10, or have all of them, but you'll be focusing on your top 10. So why is this so helpful or useful? So Gallup, if you know, they do polls all over the world. They have the most data on the most things in the entire world. And they have developed this test, which is the most accurate test when we're talking about strengths. And so if you really want to understand a little bit more about who you are and maybe why you tend to do certain things and you enjoy certain things, that this can be very insightful for you. And basically how our brains develop is they're very, very active, and most active, our brains are most active around 3 years old. We're just learning so many new things and developing new skills. And after 3 years old, our brains start to become more efficient, and it makes kind of little shortcuts in our brains. So because of those shortcuts, even though we have all of these strengths within us, and are capable of having them as strengths, there are some that are more dominant and just are easier for us because of how our brains have formed. They say around 15 years old is when when you can take this test, and it will be pretty much accurate for the rest of your life of what your top 10 strengths are. So if you get your top 5, and if you were to take it again, and I did that because I had lost it, and then I refound it after I took it again, that there were a couple that were different, and I was concerned about that. However, then once I got all 34 of my strengths in their order, all of those strengths that were in the first test were in my top 10. So they just kind of shuffle around a little bit, but usually that top 10 is where you want to focus. And why is that? Why do we want to focus on our strengths? Because oftentimes we are trained up to focus on our weaknesses. We just need to, improve our weaknesses. You think about in school when we get report cards as a parent, if your child has a C in a class and an A in other classes, generally that C gets the attention. Oh, why did you, whatever, we need to work on this. We need to get that grade up. So there's a natural tendency from the time that we're young to focus on our weaknesses. However, and this was displayed at convention when, I can't remember his name. I lost his name, who spoke from Gallup about our strengths, that when we focus on our strengths, there was a test given about reading per minute, and there was one group that did perform so well, and then there was another group that far outperformed them, and then they gave some training and really focused on it. And you think that the ones that weren't very good at reading words per minute, that would have increased more than the group that had already performed pretty well. But what happened is that the first group that didn't perform as well, even though they got training, they did improve, but they didn't improve that much. But those that were doing well at reading, that their reading words per minute just skyrocketed. And there's been over and over again this idea that if you can focus on your strengths, that you will have exponential growth compared to if you're just trying to make your weaknesses up to par. And that's, when you get great athletes, they find something that they are a little more naturally good at, and then they put a lot of energy, time, and focus in doing that, and you'll see the exponential growth, and they're superstars. However, if I were to put that same amount of energy and focus into maybe being a superstar basketball player, probably not going to happen. Will I improve? Of course. So really what we're trying to focus on are the things that we are more naturally good at, that bring us a little more energy, and we enjoy doing. Things that we're good at, we often enjoy doing more of. So with that kind of background, I want to explain these cards. Let me pull this up so you can see. There's two things that once you take the test that are really helpful. One is if you download their app, and it is called, I can never remember, it's Clifton Strengths. Basically, you will log in after you take the test. You can download it for free, and then you log in, and it will give you your strengths here, and then you can click on them, and it will tell you more about that strength, which is basically what's in the book. So it just makes it really easy. You can also share it with your team, so your upline, downline, so they are aware of what your strengths are. And we're going to talk about why that's super important. And this is something that has been really helpful in other relationships. So within family members, spouses, that these can be used as well. And it gives great insights to maybe reasons why there's conflict, or why you work well together in certain things and not so well in other things. So with these cards, basically they give you just a really easy way to understand a person that's an achiever. So I'm an achiever is one of my strengths. And this first line, I am being, it really talks about personality type. So my personality type is a hard worker. And that's since I can remember, I've always just been a hard worker. And this this is what you can count on me to do, set the pace for production. That is something that you can count on me to do that. And so for yourself, it helps you to understand yourself better, but also for your leaders. Knowing what their strengths are, knowing that, for instance, if I have an activator on my team, I can count on them to create momentum. If I have a believer on my team, I can count on them to make sacrifices for things that are important to them. That's something that I can count on them to do. So that's important to know. That's there. And I'll go through this card, and then I will talk about how you use it when you're doing like a mentor call or helping someone. This next part, contribution, is what brings you back to life. So I'm going to jump down here to these values, because if one of your values is not honored, either by you or by someone else, if it's not honored, then oftentimes you will go in this state of lull. You may not want to do it. You might have a pullback from doTERRA, or if it's something else, you'll have this kind of pullback. And if you're trying to mentor and coach yourself, what you can do is whatever you contribute. So if you think of maybe your altruism was dishonored, either by you or by someone else. And I'll give you an example of what I mean by this. So Jen Garrett, she had gone through through some of the training, and Jeremy, that's his name. He had met with her and Mark Garrett, so they're married, and they knew their different strengths and had been excited about it years ago when they took the strengths test, but didn't really know how to use it. And so he sat down with them literally within 5 minutes and was just asking questions about their business. And she had been kind of pulling back, and he found that belief was one of her strengths. And what he had found is that one of her core beliefs is that she is a mother, and that she should be the one that is nurturing and taking care of her children. That is one of her core beliefs, and not compromising on that. And so when she would go out and do doTERRA, she felt like she was not honoring that belief. And so she would, go out and do a booth or go do a class, but then she would pull back. It was like she wasn't putting her whole heart into it. She couldn't really understand why. She knew it was important. She wanted to help people. She saw the value. And so she kind of let Mark do the business. However, when he said that, like, one of those core beliefs was that she should be making sure that her children are taken care of, that they're nurtured. When he identified that for her, that was a core belief, and that she wasn't feeling like it was honored when she was going out and doing the booths. It was a long day, and she felt like she was dishonoring her core belief. And what he helped her see is that if she could create a way that she felt like her kids were being taken care of during that time when she was doing doTERRA, that she was all in, that she didn't have to, kind of back up and pull back from doing doTERRA. And so what she did is she hired some really good, inexpensive people that would take her kids out and do these adventures with them that she wouldn't do. Like she said, one time they went out and were skinning rabbits or something. Like, she's like, I would never do that, but they loved it. It was a great experience, and she knew that they were going to love it. And so she felt good about going and being able to do her booth. And so she found that when she was experiencing that pullback, she could go look in her top strengths and see if there was something that wasn't being honored. One of her values, something that she loved, or something was happening that she hated. If one of those two things were occurring that they weren't honored, she could identify those. And what happened is that if she used what she uses to contribute, she could get back in. So stabilized her values. There was stability there because she created a way for her kids to be taken care of. She also had clarity that that's what was going on. And so that's the way that she was able to move forward. So thinking for yourself, or let me just go through the rest of these and then we'll go through in some coaching with that. So knowing how you can contribute to the team. How do you contribute to your doTERRA team and to your doTERRA customers? And then these are things that are requirements to allow you to thrive. So for her, or for somebody with the belief is one of their strengths, a cause or a purpose for which to live. That is super motivating when she feels like that's what's happening. For somebody that's an activator, one of the requirements is less discussion, more action. So you're sitting in one of the team calls and you're feeling like there's just a lot of discussion going on. Like, it can be super frustrating for you. So how you can contribute is you can be a catalyst for creating urgency within that call. If that's how you're feeling, that's how you can get back into the game instead of pulling back like, oh my gosh, this is a waste of my time. You can use what you generally contribute to the team to get your energy back up. So this I love and value, obviously these are things that I love. So I love to initiate or instigate things. I hate wasting time. Ugh, drives me crazy. For an achiever, I love completing tasks. I hate a lack of diligence. And then just quickly through these other two, metaphor or image, this just gives you an image of this person or yourself. So if you're an achiever, that's an image. You could picture this person feeling like there's a finish line. If you have an achiever on your team, you know that that's what they're kind of trying to accomplish. That's what it looks like. An activator, getting out of the blocks quickly. So that would be a metaphor. They're trying to activate. They're trying to get to where they're going quickly, get out over those blocks quickly. Metaphor for belief is missionary for some idea. And then this label barrier, or barrier label, is for twofold. One is that oftentimes this is how people perceive us. Because we have these strengths, we might come off as someone who is set in their ways. As an activator, you might come across to people as someone who leaps before looking. As an achiever, someone might label you as someone that thinks work is more important than people. Now, these labels are not true. It's helpful to know how people may perceive you because of your strengths. And also, this is something that you might label your builders because of their strengths. So if you understood that you had an achiever on your team and that this is where they thrive, they love intensity, they love completing tasks, that's what they love and this is what they do, and you can count on them to set the pace for production, that if you're not an achiever, you don't get that. Like, that's not naturally within you. And so you might label them as somebody, work is more important than people. Or you might have an upline that's like that and you're putting a label on them that's how they feel. But really that's not true. It's just that they're thriving within their strengths. And so this can really be a source of eliminating some of the contention within relationships, whether they're within doTERRA or within our families. If you can understand these things, try not to put labels on people. You might go, that's what it feels like. And then when you discover that, gosh, this is one of their strengths, how can I help them to use their strengths to move forward in their business? So that's a little bit on those. See if I covered everything that I wanted to cover. Oh, what is helpful that once you get your strengths is to make a list of all of your I love versus I hate. Because if you have a time when you're in your business and you're just feeling like, I'm just not motivated, I'm not, you have that kind of a pullback, it's an easy way to go look and see if one of your values has been violated, whether it's been by you or whether it's been by someone else. So for instance, because I am an achiever, if during the day I don't feel like I'm completing tasks, I feel like kind of a failure. I feel like I haven't achieved anything. And I feel like kind of empty. And so it's easy for me to identify that's the reason why. And so how do I get unstuck when I feel that way? By doing what I am good at, contributing. And that's intensity and stamina of effort. So I put an extra effort into, let me get this done. And that's how I can feel like I'm back in the game. If I'm belief and maybe something happened that you hate, anything that does not mesh or align with my beliefs. So something happened, I feel like that's happened. Either I've done that, gosh, this is a core belief and I didn't do it. How can I get back to feeling in the game? Just like Jen did, is being able to stabilize those values and have clarity on them. For an activator, sorry, I don't have all of them up, but these are just to give you an example. So maybe instigation or initiation, like you love to do that, but you just didn't do it. You didn't take the opportunity within that class or within that one-on-one to really instigate or initiate, the next move. You've dishonored something that you value. And so going back to how you contribute is how can you be a catalyst for a sense of urgency? And maybe it's going back to that person and creating a sense of urgency of why they need to take action. Or for yourself, why do you need to take action? There's urgency in that. And that brings you to life. I don't get it. But when it's your strength, it totally makes sense. Okay. The other thing, so you have your list of I loves, I hates that can help you to, when you're not feeling so into doTERRA, how to kind of get out of the funk. And this is also as a mentor, helping somebody else get out of the funk. And then also it's helpful to put a list of your needs, requirements alongside of your contribution so that you understand those things that you need in order to feel energized in your business. And then those things that will bring that energy if it's ever drained. Now, as far as a coaching session, this is something that I would recommend doing with new people that you are launching in the business, is that quickly get them to take the Strengths Finders test. I think it will be a way to alleviate some of the conflicts that often occur as you're working with a new builder, because it helps you to better understand them. It helps you to see them for who they are, what their strengths are, and not have a tendency to put those label barriers on someone. So you might see someone like you launch them, they're going, and then they have a pullback. And you might put a label on them like they're just not motivated, they're not committed, they're not this or that, whatever it is that you're putting a label on. But once you find out that maybe something has been dishonored that they value, and now you know of some different ideas, there's different ways that could help them to feel honored in that value, or to bring that energy back up, how they contribute. Like you can help them better if you understand their strengths, and also have them get the app, share it with you, and then you share your strengths with them and just explain a little bit just what I've done here, just so they understand how each of you work. And then you will work better, and knowing that I might have a weakness where they have a strength, and that's what makes a good team, is when you have a balance of a bunch of different strengths. and you're not going to have them all. And so creating a team with a bunch of different strengths will help you to thrive and grow, not if you're putting barrier labels on people. So in your coaching session, this is something that I would recommend, and I'll post these, that you, after you go through these and you each have your top 5, that you ask these questions and each of you take a turn answering, just so it sets up some expectations and get you guys started on the right foot. So the first would be, you get the best of me when, and then you can label that. You get the best of me when what? When I'm able to be a catalyst for urgency, or as an achiever. You get the best of me when I can work with an intensity and stamina, when I have freedom to work at my own pace. Like, you're going to get the best of me. I don't want someone that is micromanaging me. I like to have that freedom. So you both answer that question. The second question would be, you get the worst of me when you don't have that need met, or if it's something that you value that is not being honored. And so you just kind of go back and forth with those. The third question is, one thing I expect of you is, and give your expectation. I expect that you will give me the freedom to work at my own pace. I expect that you will see me as a hard worker. I expect that you'll honor my value in completing tasks. So it might be that you're giving me tasks to complete, and I like checking those off. And then the fourth is, you can count on me too. And that's really where this one comes in. You can count on me to set the pace for production. As an activator, you can count on me to create momentum. And this really is what you can count on people to do. You can count on me to make sacrifices for things that are important to me. And you just have that give and take, and so you better understand one another. You get kind of set off on the right foot step. Now, when someone is struggling, say for instance, someone is struggling with getting people on LRP. They're great at enrolling, but for some reason there's not too many people on LRP. This is helpful to help them to figure it out, and it's really to study their successes. And so that really is going back to their strengths, study their successes. And you might ask, well, have you gotten anybody on LRP? And they will go back to, and if they have, then they'll go back to, yeah, I did. I got my aunt so-and-so on LRP. And you help them to study what they did to help that to happen. And you help them to do more of that. And that's going to look different for everyone. So you might have the standard, you do a membership overview, you do this and this and this, but maybe the people that you've been getting on LRP it was done a little bit different for you. And so you're studying your successes, or you're helping one of your leaders study their successes. And it really is, if they say something like, I don't know how to do this, or I'm just not good at this, or this keeps happening, you might ask, so have you ever done that before? And the answer might be no. Like, I've never gotten anybody on LRP. That's great data for you to understand. They need to maybe go through the process and practice a little more, and you help them through doing it so that they can do it more. So hopefully that's helpful. If you have questions, you can go ahead and post them, but I want to get this recorded so that you would know how to use those strengths instead of just having it as a cool little tidbit. All right. We will unshare and we will stop the recording.